Welcome back. Today we will learn about the extraordinary development surrounding Susan Banks and her unprecedented psychic awakening that could potentially solve the most shocking crime to rock Salem in decades. Susan's enhanced psychic transformation. Susan Banks has experienced a remarkable evolution in her supernatural abilities, transforming from someone with occasional glimpses into the unknown to a powerful psychic force capable of penetrating the deepest mysteries of Salem. Her enhanced psychic field represents a quantum leap in her spiritual connectivity, allowing her to channel energies from both the living and the departed with unprecedented clarity and precision. This dramatic enhancement didn't occur overnight. It appears to be tied directly to the traumatic shooting of her beloved son EJ, creating an emotional catalyst that has amplified her natural gifts exponentially. The timing of this psychic surge couldn't be more crucial, as Susan arrives in Salem during one of the most perplexing criminal cases the town has ever witnessed. Her maternal instincts, combined with her newly heightened supernatural awareness, have created a perfect storm of determination and otherworldly insight that could finally bring justice to light. Susan's psychic field now operates on multiple dimensional planes, allowing her to pick up residual emotional imprints left behind at crime scenes, detect deception in those around her, and most remarkably, communicate with spirits who may have witnessed the events that nearly claimed her son's life. The warning that shakes Salem's foundation. Susan's urgent warning to EJ carries the weight of prophetic truth, delivered with the intensity that only a mother's love combined with supernatural insight can provide. She speaks with absolute certainty about the malevolent forces at work, describing them as something very, very bad, a phrase that carries deeper meaning when filtered through her enhanced psychic perception. This isn't merely maternal concern speaking. It's the voice of someone who has peered beyond the veil and witnessed the dark machinations that threaten to destroy everything the DiMera family holds dear. The warning encompasses more than just the immediate threat to EJ's life. Susan's expanded consciousness has revealed a web of interconnected dangers that span generations, involving old enemies, family secrets, and supernatural forces that have been dormant for years. Her psychic visions show her fragments of conversations held in shadowy corners, whispered plans made under cover of darkness, and the presence of evil that has been steadily growing stronger while masquerading as ordinary Salem residents. The very air around the DiMera mansion crackles with residual negative energy that only someone with Susan's heightened abilities can detect and interpret. Chad and EJ's skeptical yet curious response. The brothers' discussion about Susan's psychic claims reveals the complex dynamic between scientific skepticism and desperate hope that characterizes their current situation. Chad DiMera, ever the pragmatist, finds himself caught between his natural inclination to dismiss supernatural explanations and his growing awareness that conventional investigative methods have failed to provide answers. His conversations with EJ about their mother's abilities take on an almost clinical tone, as if by analyzing Susan's claims intellectually, they can somehow make sense of powers that defy rational explanation. EJ's position is particularly fascinating, as he struggles to reconcile his sophisticated worldview with the undeniable accuracy of many of his mother's past predictions. The shooting has left him vulnerable in ways that extend far beyond physical healing, and Susan's presence offers both comfort and an unsettling reminder that forces beyond his control may be manipulating events around him. Their discussions often circle back to specific instances where Susan's insights proved accurate, creating a growing database of evidence that even the most skeptical mind would find difficult to dismiss entirely. Stefano's eternal presence and supernatural surveillance. The possibility that Stefano DiMera's spirit resides within his portrait creates a chilling dynamic that transforms the DiMera mansion into something resembling a supernatural surveillance center. If Susan's enhanced psychic abilities allow her to communicate with the departed, then Stefano's consciousness, trapped or willingly bound to his earthly domain through the iconic portrait, becomes the ultimate witness to every crime, every secret conversation, and every moment of vulnerability experienced by his living descendants. This spectral presence would mean that Stefano, even in death, continues to exert influence over the family he spent decades controlling and manipulating. His spirit, if indeed tethered to the mansion, would have observed EJ's shooting with the detached fascination of someone who has orchestrated countless similar scenarios throughout his corporeal existence. The portrait, rather than being merely a memorial, becomes a window through which the patriarch's essence can observe, judge, and perhaps even influence the unfolding drama below. Susan's ability to potentially tap into this supernatural surveillance network opens up possibilities that extend far beyond solving a single shooting. She could access decades of family secrets, witness ghostly reenactments of past crimes, and uncover connections between seemingly unrelated events that have shaped the DiMera legacy. The mansion itself becomes a repository of psychic energy, with every room holding echoes of the past that only someone with Susan's enhanced abilities can perceive and interpret. The Rachel Black connection and childhood trauma, the emerging evidence pointing toward little Rachel Black as the shooter, introduces a deeply disturbing element that challenges every assumption about innocence and culpability. Rachel's behavioral changes. The nightmares that wake her screaming, the mysterious stomach ailments that have no medical explanation, and her visceral reaction to certain areas of the DiMera mansion, all point to a child grappling with trauma that extends far beyond anything a young mind should have to process. Susan's psychic abilities may be the key to unlocking the truth trapped within Rachel's fractured psyche. The child's potential suppression of the shooting memory represents a psychological defense mechanism that could require supernatural intervention to overcome. If Rachel indeed pulled the trigger, the circumstances that led to such a devastating action must involve layers of manipulation, fear, or perceived threat that transformed an innocent child into an instrument of violence. The psychological implications are staggering. A child who commits such an act doesn't simply forget it. The memory becomes compartmentalized, creating internal barriers that conventional therapy might never breach. Susan's enhanced psychic field could potentially reach through these psychological walls, not to traumatize the child further, but to help her process the experience in a way that allows healing to begin. The connection between Rachel's possible psychic gifts and her involvement in the shooting creates a supernatural subplot that could redefine everything Salem thought it knew about the nature of innocence and guilt. Sammy's explosive return and mind control revelations. Sammy Brady's impending return to Salem carries the promise of explosive revelations that could dwarf even the shooting investigation in terms of their potential impact on multiple families. Her mission to test Johnny and investigate Stefano's mind-controlling technology introduces a science fiction element that transforms supernatural soap opera drama into something resembling psychological horror. The suggestion that Stefano's influence extends beyond death through technological means creates a scenario where free will itself becomes questionable. The mind-controlling dreams represent Stefano's ultimate violation. The ability to invade and manipulate the subconscious minds of his victims while they're at their most vulnerable. If this technology exists and remains active, then every major decision made by certain Salem residents could be suspect, every relationship could be artificially influenced, and every crime could potentially be traced back to the posthumous machinations of a man who refused to let death limit his capacity for destruction. Sammy's investigation will likely reveal that the shooting was merely one piece in a much larger puzzle orchestrated by technology that turns people into unwilling puppets. The ethical implications of this discovery will reverberate through Salem as families question whether their love, their anger, and their choices have ever truly been their own. Susan's psychic abilities may be the only natural defense against such technological manipulation, creating a supernatural arms race between the spirit world and advanced science. The shocking truth behind the conspiracy. As Susan's investigation deepens and the various threads of evidence converge, a shocking truth emerges that transforms everything viewers thought they understood about the shooting and its aftermath. The real mastermind behind the attempt on EJ's life isn't a single individual driven by personal vengeance, but rather a sophisticated network that has been operating in Salem for years, using advanced psychological manipulation techniques combined with supernatural influence to orchestrate a series of seemingly unrelated tragic events. The conspiracy involves a faction of DiMera associates who discovered Stefano's mind control technology and have been using it to create the perfect crime. One that would eliminate EJ while simultaneously destroying the evidence of their own decades-long embezzlement scheme. They manipulated Rachel Black through subliminal programming disguised as children's entertainment, knowing that a child's testimony would be dismissed and that the trauma would likely cause memory suppression. Susan's psychic abilities threatened to expose not just the shooting, but an entire criminal enterprise that has been slowly bleeding the DiMera fortune while orchestrating the psychological destruction of family members who might discover their activities. The most shocking revelation comes when Susan's enhanced psychic field reveals that Stefano's spirit has been fighting against this technological perversion of his legacy, using his supernatural presence to leave clues that only someone with genuine psychic abilities could detect and interpret. The portrait isn't just a prison for his consciousness. It's his command center in a ghostly war against those who would corrupt his life's work for petty financial gain, transforming the late patriarch from villain to unlikely protector of the family he spent his lifetime tormenting.